5 years after the release of the first expansion for Tom Clancy's The Division 2, Warlords of New York, released on the 3rd of March 2020, the game receives its second DLC expansion, Battle for Brooklyn. Released on the 27th of May of this year, 2025. Weighing in at approximately half the size of Warlords of New York, and also returning to an area that had previously been realised in the original The Division, the question naturally arose, would it be enough to satisfy many players who had been eagerly awaiting new content for The Division 2 for such a long time? Of course, The Division 2's developers, Massive Entertainment, have been adding new content throughout the last 5 years in the form of seasons. Each season lasts for a few months and culminates in a final mission, which has been up to this point in time a reworked mission that already exists within The Division 2, as well as revealing more of the ongoing story within The Division 2. There have also been some additions such as an extremely difficult Stronghold variant called an Excursion and the Pentco Fairview power plant, which is both a seasonal final mission and the location for a multiplayer mission mode called Countdown. However, it had been a very long time since players had had the opportunity to explore a new open world area. Before we can explore this new DLC further though, this reviewer feels it is necessary to briefly discuss the current situation with The Division 2's publisher, Ubisoft. It is no secret that for the last couple of years, Ubisoft has been in trouble. Plagued by the disease of DEI, as well as some ill-advised major decisions, Ubisoft has stumbled from commercial disaster to commercial disaster. One of the worst missteps, in this reviewer's opinion, was the announcement that Ubisoft would be redirecting the majority of its resources to focus solely on the Assassin's Creed franchise. Although this reviewer enjoyed Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Breakpoint reviewed on this channel, it had a tough launch, plagued with many technical problems, and received a lot of negative sentiment that no doubt hurt its potential sales at the time. Ubisoft really needed a major release that was technically sound. Unfortunately, what players got was Star Wars Outlaws, released on the 30th of August 2024 and also developed by Massive Entertainment. So at this point in time, resources had been pulled away from The Division 2 in order to create an open-world Star Wars game that squandered its potential through DEI madness and a lack of proper development oversight and necessary development time. Ubisoft would then follow Outlaws with Assassin's Creed Shadow, which should have been a golden ticket, a home run. An Assassin's Tale set in feudal Japan. How could anyone mess that up, right? Oh dear. Anyway, the upshot of all of this is that when Massive Entertainment originally released The Division 2 on the 15th of March 2019, they did so with a lot of help from additional studios. Ubisoft Reflections, Red Storm Entertainment, and Ubisoft's Annecy, Paris, Bucharest and Leamington studios. All of these studios helped with the huge amount of work that went into the environment of Washington DC, the missions, strongholds, etc. But as of this year, both Ubisoft Reflections and Leamington have been closed. Red Storm Entertainment has had staff cuts, and we will have to see what happens to the other Ubisoft studios over the next year or so. Furthermore, many resources had also been put towards the development of Tom Clancy's The Division Heartland, with Red Storm Entertainment at the helm.
Welcome to Silver Creek, a sweet little town in middle America. You know the kind. Pumpkin patches, apple pies, and the best damn cup of coffee you'll ever have. Silver Creek was perfect, up until it wasn't. The green poison changed everything for everyone. It started in New York on Black Friday, biggest shopping day of the year. They called it the dollar flu because it spread on money. The virus knew no boundaries. No matter where it hit, the bodies piled up. And when it spread to Silver Creek, the result was the same: death.
But in 2024, after 4 years of development, it was abruptly cancelled. This has meant then that Massive Entertainment has been left holding the bag with vastly less resources than before, but in addition to all of this, it is confirmed that they are actually working on The Division 3. In a way, it's actually amazing they managed to release anything as large as this at all. Well, for this player, he relished returning to Brooklyn, especially considering the price point. For approximately 20 English pounds, he not only got a new expansion, but a season pass as well. Not bad. The whole area has been completely resculptured and looks incredible, especially in the day cycle, when you can see the autumnal weather and vegetation. It had been so long since the days of The Division that it felt very new and different. It often took several minutes before there was a dawning sense of recognition in many areas that had been so familiar all those years ago. The environmental design work is then up to the already high standard that is seen within the base game and Warlords of New York. There is that high level of detailing and some really imaginative reinventions of areas which in the story's premise have all been hit by a huge hurricane. Brooklyn is split into two distinct areas, Dumbo and Brooklyn Heights, each with 2 new checkpoints to conquer, 2 new missions, and a variety of hidden secrets and puzzles to keep players entertained for many hours. The new missions are all wonderfully created, and again there is that flair for just being imaginative and creative with regards to the environmental setting for them. This player thoroughly enjoyed all of them. As story progresses, 3 main missions are unlocked, and each of these is the equivalent of a stronghold in the base game. There are some quite tricky new battle ideas within these, so be prepared to think on your feet. The main new gameplay mechanic within the expansion is something called Blue Flame. The Cleaners, one of the oldest enemy factions within the Division, always used fire, but this fire type gradually wears down players' armor value, which they cannot replace until combat is over. Therefore, avoiding the fire is actually essential, because you can only take a few hits before you have no armor left at all. It really does change the way you approach certain situations. Although the developers have made it quite clear that the main story within Battle for Brooklyn was something separate from the continuing story that is revealed within the seasons, without any spoilers, it is actually linked in many ways, and the ending of the expansion, well, that is for you to find out. Of course, no game is perfect, and let's face it, when it comes to cutscene work, The Division 2 isn't exactly leading the field. It doesn't help that the cutscenes are being streamed from a server either, and it has to be said that some of the cutscenes were extremely shabby. As was pointed out above, though, resources are everything. The voice actors, after all, are doing their best, and you can only do what you can do with what you have. The new soundtrack themes that accompany the expansion are wonderful. They follow that beautiful synth-based rock infusion that stamps that Division identity into the game. This reviewer cannot at this time confirm whether or not the composer has been Ola Strand. He just hopes it still is. Overall then, this player thoroughly enjoyed his excursion to Brooklyn, relishing the many new experiences that it provides. It is certainly an area of the game that he will return to, not only in the pursuit of achievements, but also because it proves to be a good place to level up, as well as containing a large amount of materials that can be gathered relatively quickly. Battle for Brooklyn proves to be a rewarding and fun addition to all that The Division 2 already provides. Get to it, Agent.